for listening to tonight's show. You can connect with Take Two Radio on Twitter at Take Two Radio and at Dawn Take Two Radio. You can also look us up on Facebook at Take Two Radio. Check out our website at TakeTwoRadio.com and follow us on Blog Talk so you can stay up to the minute of each episode as we add it. Each episode is always available for download immediately following each broadcast, and you can also download every podcast on iTunes. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Take Two Radio. I'm Pam, your host, and tonight, of course, I have Dawn, my co-host. Hello, Dawn.
Hello, Pam.
Are you excited?
I am beyond excited for tonight's guest. Yes, I am excited. I know that you are, so we both are.
Most definitely. Well, tonight we welcome Emmy-nominated Jon Lindstrom to our show. He's an actor, producer, director, a writer, a musician. I think he just does everything. Welcome, Jon. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Oh, we're doing great. Thank you.
Good.
Well, we're very excited to learn, first of all, I know I am, I want to talk to you about your music. I didn't realize that you were a musician.
You didn't realize I was a musician?
No.
Oh, how could you possibly hear the name of Lindstrom and not think rock and roll? I just don't get it. Yeah, I was a drummer. I was a professional drummer for quite some time, actually.
Yeah.
Probably longest I care to think about, but yeah, I did it for a long time, and I worked in a very good band called the High Lonesome for, almost 10 years.
And you had an album. Feel free to do so.
We had an album. We recorded an album we were signed to a label and recorded our album in 1995, I believe it was, and it came out in 1996. We had 2 hits on the Billboard Hot 100, but being a song called Mary Mary and a song that I sang called Mustang Thing. And we got together a couple of years ago, and so I'm credited with this idea. I don't know why, but one of us got the idea that we should get a hold of our master tapes and remaster them and release our old record on iTunes. And somebody came up with the idea that we should record a new song if we were going to do that. And then somebody else had the idea that we should probably do 2. So all of a sudden we were this band again. After several years away from each other, we were all actors and who got together between acting gigs to have fun, and it suddenly turned into this whole other thing. And but we're really proud of the body of work we have. And if you are interested, you can go get the High Lonesome Collector's Album, 1995 to 2010. It's available at iTunes. And if you want the hard copy, a nice CD with some really old photographs of the band on it, go to CD Baby, and you can get a nice, honest to gosh CD. And we'll send it to you.
Which is
really
unusual
nice
these days.
It's very unusual these days. So, but we came from we're kind of old school that way. If we could LPs, we would have done that.
Yeah. Well, I think I found it on Amazon too, on Amazon.com. The actual CD, if I was looking at the correct one.
Spotify. I mean, we're everywhere.
All over.
All over. Yeah. Doesn't mean we get paid for that, but we're everywhere.
Yeah. Isn't there a credit card like that or something?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I think Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Jon, I'm like Pam. I've been so enamored with you when you were on As the World Turns. I was a huge fan of that show. Playing the role of Craig Montgomery, and just never knew that you had the musical side of you. So that is quite impressive. And but let's talk a little bit about As the World Turns. What a ride you had on.
Or As the World Turns.
I know. I know, really. I was a huge fan for many, many years, and really, like many soap fans, I hated to see it go off the air, of course. And but I loved your role. I always loved, there were days when I was yelling at the TV at you, going, "Why did you do that?" But I think as we do with all the sub characters that we have that love-hate relationship with. But you always did such a phenomenal job of just making the character of Craig Montgomery very believable for the viewers. And Craig was quite the ladies' man too. I think I was pretty happy seeing with Craig with just about anybody on the show, but there was something about that whole Craig and Carly pairing, that dynamic, that just really got on my last nerve. I don't know why.
Sometimes it's on mine too.
I know that Craig just trying to come in between Jack and Carly. What in the world? Did he ever live there? But no,
yeah,
you made it.
Well, I think Craig had what you call an impulse control problem.
Very true.
He just wasn't able. If he suddenly felt the urge, he just had to go for it. That was his biggest problem in the world.
Yes, that is so true. And because you never saw Craig just if he was ever mulling over anything, he was scheming something, but the impulsiveness was a totally different animal altogether. So when you were on As the War Turns, what was your favorite storyline that you played? I mean, you played numerous ones. Was there one that just kind of stands out for you?
Well, probably I would have to say, well, there's two of them, but I can't say that they're really equal. My favorite, obviously, was the Craig Rosanna storyline. They had their own history, and before I came on the show, and but obviously that's had an awfully good outcome for me personally.
Oh yeah.
It's rare that an actor gets such an easy person that you blend with very, very well, and they're able to write for you in a very natural way. And I really loved. I mean, aside from the fact that I fell in love with my leading lady, I loved the progression of the story, and I felt it played out in a really natural way and built beautifully and was constructed very well. It was a pleasure to play. I mean, it didn't hurt that Katie and I liked each other. But at that point we were friends. We were just coworkers and colleagues, and we had mutual respect for each other, and it was that helped a lot. But I have to hand it to Chris Goutman and his Gene Casanante and their team of writers that were able to make what I thought was a very tangible and realistic love story of two people who used to know each other and came back together again. And also when it played out at the end, in a sort of a heartbreaking way, I thought that was, for me, I can say that was some of the best work I think I've ever done. And, it's helped me get an Emmy nomination. So I guess
that's so true. And
the other one, I believe it or not, was probably the Gabriel, his Craig's long lost son, which unfortunately the show went off the air, so we didn't get to play that out as fully as we had wanted to. But I thought it was going quite well, and I was really enjoying working with young Ben Levin, who was a very capable and eager actor who really wanted to learn. And I'm sorry that he didn't get the chance to play it out as well as I thought, as well as I thought he could have ultimately.
Well, I really liked the fact that the writers, wrote that storyline for Craig because, the viewers, I think, needed to see a side of Craig that they'd never seen before, and that really kind of turned things around on a dime, in a good way, because we always knew that softer, sensitive side of him existed. But it was always so overcome with all the other characteristics. But to be able to see him bond with his son, even though everything got off to a really, rocky start.
Really,
it was nice to see how, that's kind of an understatement, but, to see how it all just kind of transitioned. And I'm like you, that was kind of one of the loose ends that had the show gone on. It would have been neat to see how that would have continued to evolve. You know.
Yeah, I would have. I mean, it was certainly evident in Craig's relationship with little Johnny. And of course, it helps when you have a little kid like Bailey. Such a cute little redheaded boy playing that part. But that was something that was always kind of, I think, Craig's redeeming quality, and I'm sure that the other actors who played the role would say the same thing. He was a guy who was, like I say, had an impulse control problem, but he sure did love his kid.
Yeah, that's so true.
He would have done anything for his kid. So, we're talking about him as a real person, and that's a good thing because I think that really came through. I can only really just thank the actors, thank the writers for that.
Yeah. Now this is kind of going off the beaten path a little bit, but it is somewhat related. But with all of the recent talk about Prospect Park bringing back One Life to Live and All My Children, do you think that there is any remote possibility that Procter & Gamble might at some point follow suit with As the World Turns?
And I suppose you have to include Guiding Light in that. I think it all just remains to be seen. What Prospect Park is trying to do has never really been done before at this level. Right. And, I applaud them for taking the risk and being so determined to do it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And they have, apparently they have forged ahead and come to agreement with the unions and have been able to make deals with some actors and directors and writers, and it seems like it could actually get going. So if this is successful, then you're going to see a lot more. So I think if Procter & Gamble sees the opportunity to revive a brand, and, everything's about branding these days, in a way that can make them money, either directly or indirectly, but by that I mean you can either sell advertising and make money that way, or you have a conduit to sell your products, which is where the term soap opera came from anyway, and what Procter & Gamble was really all about.
Right.
They developed their shows originally in order to sell their products.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I think if they see an opportunity to do it, absolutely, they'll do it, and so will other people.
I think probably
other shows. I've got my fingers crossed that it's really going to work.
Right.
Believe me, I am very hopeful and optimistic. At least I really am pulling for Prospect Park, being a lifelong fan of CBS soaps. I would love to see.
I'm so sorry, but all of a sudden you're breaking up so badly I can't understand you.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
It's better. That's better.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that.
There we go. There you are.
Yeah. Well, we're all hopeful on this because I'm a big ABC fan. I mean, I watch the other soaps as well and CBS and that, but ABC is what I started with. So when we lost All My Children and One Life to Live, right in a row like that, it was really devastating. So we're really hoping this works out too.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think when ABC decided to take two shows off their schedule, that was a devastating blow. Now, having been there, on that same network and watching Port Charles come up and take a ride and then go down, and with ratings that are higher than shows that are still on the air these days.
Right.
I expected it. I mean, I've been in showbiz for a long time. Every show closes. So when a show gets canceled, you can't take it personally. You can't look at it as anything out of the ordinary. However, when both shows went down like that at the same time, when the word came down on the same day, I think that truly was that took the wind out of a lot of people's commitment to keep the shows going and to try new things. It was really it hit on a lot of different levels, and most of all, obviously, to the fans.
Yeah, it was such a big uproar, and we're glad that we kept talking about it and kept fighting for it because, hopefully